Let's see, got 30 and a quarter, 30 and a quarter, 30 and a quarter, 30 and a quarter. That'll work. Welcome back to Wally's Working. Today, we're doing flatbed stuff. So while I'm waiting on the windshield to show up, I've got plenty of other things I need to do, but since this flatbed's just kind of loosely sitting on the frame, I'd like to try to get this thing figured out and get it closer to being mounted permanently anyway. That way the thing is just a little easier to deal with. All right, guys, bed is off, and I'm just trying to mark a line now. I'm basically gonna take 5 inches out of the middle of this thing all the way down. Well, at least as close to the middle as possible. 5 inches. This is actually the front of the flatbed. I actually did spin it around. So the back of the flatbed, the ugly part is up there in the front. I'm just gonna leave it like this because I do like the way this looks. Flatbed here actually has this big stake pocket in the front. But unfortunately, they didn't weld it into the center of the bed. This is dead center of the bed, which is not a big deal. All I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut this thing out. So I'm gonna make a cut here, I'm gonna make a cut here and weld it together. So the weld seam itself will be off center slightly. Wow, that's a carbide blade and it took the teeth right off of that thing. Huh, okay. So there is a few challenges with this flatbed that I'll go over. All right, in one of the previous videos, I had it set at a certain height, but it was a little bit too high. I went ahead and lowered it down just a little bit more, a couple more inches, and I think that's gonna be pretty good. As you can see, it's still pretty high up off the ground. Now this is gonna be a tilt bed. Some of you guys in previous videos mentioned dovetailing the back of this thing. And that is a good idea, but I really don't wanna do this with this truck because I want this truck to just look like a stock flatbed lumber truck is what I want it to look like from afar. I've got it set pretty well. It's almost even with the tank, with that, which actually looks pretty good. So it's about 4 inches or so off, 4.5 inches off the stack. And then what that's gonna enable me to do is I'm just gonna build a separate cover in here to kind of cover up the engine a little bit. And then also my air intake system and my air filter box and all that I have dreamed up in my head that I haven't talked about yet, but that's gonna come out up through here. And then it's gonna go up along the stack as well. So I need room in here for the air filter box that I'm gonna build. Now, of course, I've been talking about building this to put my Maverick on the back of it. And then keep in mind as well, the Maverick is actually too long for this flatbed. Right now I have the flatbed set to where the front bumper of the Maverick will be right at the very front of the flatbed. And then the rear tires of the Maverick will be right about here, about this cross member, just slightly behind it on the flatbed itself. So it's gonna overhang the flatbed by a couple of feet at least. Not too bad. Before I go cutting the rear rail, I am going to put in a support here. All right, All right, got the back cut off. Sorry, camera died. So that one's good to go. I'm gonna make another brace up there in the front and then get the front one cut. All right, another big challenge I have with this thing is I want a trailer hitch on the back of this thing, but I don't want the trailer hitch to be tucked way up underneath the flatbed. I don't particularly want to put a trailer hitch on the flatbed itself. If you guys watch Puddin's Fab Shop, he got a lot of heat for building his flatbed and putting the hitch itself on the flatbed because his does tilt as well. But I don't have an issue with that. If you're gonna lock out the front so it can't tilt, there's no issues with it in my mind. I see it all the time on landscape trucks with dump bodies and stuff. They put trailer hitches on them and they don't even lock them out and they tow around town with them. So the other reason is this thing is all just, you know, C-channel frame and body. So I would have to do a considerable amount of work to this flatbed itself to really reinforce it for a hitch. So that's why I want the hitch to be on the frame rail itself. So I've been putting a lot of thought into the tilt mechanism and how I'm gonna do that so I don't have any interference issues with that. All right, now that it's cut in half, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna move it together to get it welded. Now, if I put the hinge system right back here on the flatbed and I have it pivot right here like a normal dump body or whatever on a dump truck or what have you, the thing is the flatbed height up here will stay the same. So one thing I've been really studying a lot is the dump beds on roll-off dumpster trucks. So the ones that deliver the dumpsters onto the ground. Now what they do with those things to get the back of their flatbed closer to the ground is they will actually move the fulcrum of the hinge point forward and then they'll move it down as well. So that's what I'm gonna do with this. I am gonna put the hinge point underneath this cross member and it's gonna go down underneath the frame. So not only will it go down about a foot or so, but it'll be tucked in from the back of the frame rail. What that's going to allow the bed to do is the bed is not only going to go, the back of the flatbed, when I lift it, it's not only going to go backwards slightly, but it's also going to dive down to get it closer to the ground. Then what that'll allow me to do is to go ahead and cut this frame off just slightly, and then I'll be able to put a hitch on here. This portion of the bed will go down past the hitch and around the frame rail for clearance. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but we'll definitely get into it more as I'm doing it. I have it all thought up in my head, and I think it's going to work out pretty good. All right, let me check my measurement here real quick. 88.5. Hopefully it's close. 88.5. All right, cool. Shoot. That's got to come out. Let's see, how am I gonna get that out? All right, guys, all set. She is now 5 inches narrower. Got it all burned together good enough all the way down. I'll probably put some sort of plating on the insides of these just to give it a little bit of extra, but otherwise I think we're okay. Then my width all the way down, it's 88.5 inches. All right, it looks pretty good. I'm happy I did it. I can definitely tell a big difference. It's amazing just what that little bit will do as far as how much room it takes up back here. So now all I got to do in here is where the old cross member I kicked out. I just got to cut this now all the way back to here. I'm not sure what I'm going to have to do with the stake pocket yet. I may have to do what they did to this one here in the middle because they had this one cut back for the tire. So I may have to do something similar. I'll knock this out and you'll probably see me tomorrow, actually. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, good morning, guys. All right, I went down yesterday and got my material that I need. So I've got some 2x3. This is 120 wall. These are going to be the main frame rails that weld to the bottom of the bed. And then I got 2x4 pressure treated to put on the frame itself just to give me a little buffer there between the flatbed and the frame of the truck. This is 2x4 188 wall, and then this is going to be part of the hinge setup. And then for the hinge setup, I've got some 1.25 inch here, solid cold rolled. The other half of the hinge setup is some 1.75 inch, what is this, quarter wall or 250 wall DOM tubing. And that's going to be the other half of the hinge. All right, first thing is I want to get these 2x4s mocked up here and get them set. I decided to go with the wood in between because it'll make it a little quieter. That way it's not metal on metal. And then also this frame, there is a whole bunch of rivets all the way down through here, all the way up, and then bolts and everything for the cross members and all that stuff. The other thing I have to deal with is all my fuel lines that come through here. Is I just need to get this elevated up. I didn't want to drill a big hole in the frame to run that stuff through there, and I didn't want to go down and then underneath the frame rail. So what I'm going to do to protect that is I've got some channel iron. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this so it goes right over the fuel lines, and I'll have this sit just a tiny bit lower than the wood itself. All right, I got this thing cut, and I was just debating if I wanted to tack weld this to the frame or not. I think it's okay if I do. I might as well. I got plenty of room to get the lines and everything through, and these fittings will easily fit through there, so we should be good. Let's see, there's bolts right there. That didn't stay there long, did it? And right there. There's two right here. Oh yeah, that works. Yep, perfect. Right there. And then right there and right there. All right, I'll try a spade bit first, see how that works. This isn't probably necessary, but may as well do it. Always a good day when you get to bust out the mag drill. Yeah, these last 4 holes here and there, and then back here as well, I had to use the mag drill because it's all, this is all double frame rail right here. It's just a little bit too much with the hand drill. The rest of them I did by hand because it's all single. So, all right, all the holes are drilled. I just got to drill the holes in the wood, and then I got some carriage bolts. We can just bolt these things up. All right, guys, wood is on. Turned out all right. All the carriage bolts in here, countersunk real nice, pulled in. So we should be good to go there. I did leave a gap right here. I'll put in another piece, I think, like that over here, or it doesn't really matter. I'm not too worried about it, but just in case I decide to do anything here later. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to actually use this tank for fuel or if I'm going to use it for maybe converting it to a toolbox. I really haven't decided yet. Since these things are 33 gallons each, I might just run that tank for a little bit and then see how bad the mileage is, what kind of distance I can get out of it, and then go from there. Worst case scenario, maybe I'll make half of it just a little auxiliary tank and then the rest of it a little toolbox or something for tie downs and stuff. So I might do that. I did leave the wood just a little bit long here in the back. Now these main frame rails are basically going to stop somewhere right in here, roughly. So I'll cut all the excess off later. All right, guys, I'm trying to get these frame rails set on here, and of course, this got a storm coming in. Looks like it's just hitting the edge of me, so I should be all right. Might get a little bit of rain, nothing much, hopefully. Just got the frame rail sitting on here, and then these things are long as well. I'll cut all these down later as well. And I just got a piece of tubing clamped to the frame because I want to make sure that these things are square. So looking pretty good. I'm just going to finish. I got one more tube to put on the back and clamp it back here, and then we're good to go. And then I can back the truck back in and I'll lift this thing up. Yeah, I just got one little storm out there. And of course I don't have a windshield, so I have to put a tarp over the truck. All right, guys, it's been a couple hours here. Still kind of waiting for it. It's still just kind of raining on and off. So basically done waiting. Kind of asking a lot of those straps, but they're holding in there right now. Get this thing out of here. All right, let me get this thing centered up again. Let's see, what do we need to be? Oh, it's a different measurement. I was thinking in my head the old measurement. Nope, it's different now. 27 and 15/16. Back end of this thing needs to kick over. All right, I got her centered up good enough. It's within a 1/16 of an inch anyway. A little bit closer to that tire, I think it looks much better for sure. Yeah, that 5 inches made a big difference. It just tucked everything in a little bit tighter. Looks like I'll have enough room here, even with the suspension compression. I might have to trim this just a little bit more. The stake pocket, like I said earlier, I might have to just cut this back a little bit, lift it just to get a little clearance. Another thing with this thing too is these leaf springs. Now, these things are designed for that heavy motorhome, and there's like no weight on these things right now. Even with this flatbed on it, it doesn't even move them. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with those just yet. I mentioned a long time ago I was probably going to pull some leaf springs out just to lower it down a little bit, because I don't think I'm going to need that heavy of a leaf pack in this thing for sure. I think even by the time I get the wood deck and everything on this thing, it's not going to be anywhere near what the motorhome was originally. So, but I'm not going to touch them until I get the flatbed completely done, because I still have hydraulics to do, the rear hinge, all that stuff to do as well, and then the wood, of course. Now, and then as for the front springs too, they're still a little bit heavy. This thing is going to come down in ride height just a little bit more, but I'm not going to touch the suspension until I get all of the weight on this truck and it's done, minus the Maverick being on the back of it, just the truck alone. So, but yeah, I don't want to mess with the leaf springs just yet. So I've got it set up here, about 4.5 inches back. It looks like everything's sitting on the rails okay. All the cross members looks pretty good. And then that cross member that I cut out, I'll just go ahead and I'll move that thing forward, somewhere probably right in here, just behind the stake pocket. That should give me plenty of clearance. Yeah, as far as the height goes, it's pretty good. It's a little bit lower than I originally wanted it. I did want it to kind of line up with that body line, but I have to make some compromises, I got plenty of room under there to fuel, no issues at all there. Now, as far as the lift goes, I'm not going to use the scissor lift that came with this flatbed. Unfortunately, it was just too tight a packaging. I was going to have to move a whole bunch of these cross members around, and the thing was really tall, and it was going to be really close to the drive shaft, actually, because of the height that I have it off the frame rail, so that wasn't going to work. So I ended up trading that to my buddy Barry at Crocker Manufacturing, and he gave me this ram. This is I'm going to just use a single ram. This will be plenty strong enough to lift this thing. Again, I'm only going like 20-something degrees, on lift. I don't need to lift it very much, but this is a lift cylinder off of a heavy-duty flatbed, a rollback flatbed truck. And this is one of the two tilt cylinders that handled the tilt on the beds. So this thing is definitely overkill for what I need. So I just need to figure out how I'm going to mount this. This is the end of it, the base end, and then this is the extended end. I might mount this backwards so it pushes forward, and then that'll lift it up. I'd kind of like to mount it like this underneath and have it push backwards, but it's going to be a little bit tight, I think, to do that in here. I don't know. I'll have to play with it and see. As far as packaging goes, it'll be easier to mount it like this, because then I can get it actually pretty far down, close to the drive shaft. Well, not close, but I mean, I'm about a foot off the drive shaft there. And then I could have it come up right here and it'd be perfect. And I can get a nice angle on it as well. So it'll make it really easy to lift. So, but I'll mess with this later. The biggest thing now is we got to get going on the hinge setup and get that figured out. What I didn't do, what I should have done, was clean the bottom sides of all these rails before I put this thing on. So I'm going to lift this thing up again, just get it up high enough to get underneath of it and get them all cleaned and ready to weld. Dang, son. Yeah, I got another wall coming in. Look at that. That's crazy. I think I'm going to concede for the day. Maybe I'll work on something else. Let me see what this storm does. Yeah, this rain just won't stop. But check this out. I was trying to think of different license plates that I could put on the front of this thing. And then I got to searching online, and I was like, I wonder what I can find to pay homage to, again, Macklemore Lumber in Hannah City, Illinois. So I was trying to look for an Illinois license plate, and I came across this on eBay. Check that out. 1955, and it's a commercial truck plate. It's listed as the front plate, and it actually has the same GVW that this truck is. This is a 16,000 GVW originally. So pretty freaking cool. I like it a lot. I think it's pretty cool. And I also got my windshield today. So all my packages have showed up today, which is nice. But yeah, pretty cool. I think it's gonna look sweet on the front. This bumper has the perfect slots in it too for a license plate. I'll probably just put it up there. I might make a frame for it. And so it's not, or I might raise it up even. I don't know, we'll see. I actually do have a license plate frame that bolts up here. Maybe I could just put it up here, have it a little more protected. It was definitely an impulse purchase and it was not cheap. I can tell you that. But hey, whatever. It's pretty cool. Pretty unique, you know. All right, so I got that license plate from Eagle Eye Finds on eBay. He's got all kinds of cool older artifacts, and he left me a little note on the back. Thank you for ordering the 1955 Illinois license plate. I hope it finds the perfect home with you. Thanks, Alex. Oh, Alex, as you can see, it found the perfect home. All right, guys, well, I've got plans for tomorrow, so I think I'm just gonna call the video here. Sorry, quick short video again, but hey, it is what it is. I was hoping to get a lot more done this weekend, but unfortunately the rain is just really messing me up. But anyway, all right, guys, well, I appreciate you watching. Please like, share, subscribe if you don't mind. Stick around for the next one. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more done. Go work on your projects. Hopefully it's not raining where you are. I know some of you guys are probably getting ready for some colder weather. And right now it is, I don't know, it's about 78 degrees here right now, 75 degrees. It is absolutely glorious. It is not 115. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Get out there, go work on your projects. See you on the next one. Have a great day.